it's not rocket science, but it does require, energy and focus. So talk, talk, talk.
Awesome. All right, Pete, what's your big win?
I got to narrow it down to one.
Just one.
Okay. Let me think. Okay, it came at about 4:12 this morning. So I'm an early riser. I got up at 3. Usually at 12, I'm in the toilet. Boom. But this one was so big that it's kept me till maybe 1. Okay. So I have these clients, and I told Sandy, don't bill them. I don't even know what I'm going to do with them yet, but just don't bill them. Now, hold it. Let me just put context to that. I could use the money, but I just said, you know what? This is an unusual case. So I'm thinking, don't bill them. And then Jeff is in this year. So he's developing, I'm only working a week, so that's pretty good. I haven't worked 3 hours. I haven't worked less than 15 hours. Even when I had my stroke, even after I had my stroke, I was up to 12 and 13. Okay, I'm getting to the point. I still have ADD, so I do ramble. Okay, so it came to me, I'm going, I like residual income, always have continuous income. So reputation matters. So my clients were paying $3,500 on the high end. I didn't have many, I had one. So I reduced them to 1,000 a while back because I didn't want them to leave. So I had a bunch at $590, and I reduced a bunch of them to $297. Now I'm reducing them to $47 a month if they were a client of mine, and $67. And here's the key with the help of Jeff. Invitation only. If you have 67, you ain't getting in just because you have $67. You have to be a dolphin, and I have to say yes, because I'm not working with any more carps and carps and sharks. I've had my fill of them, and I'm going to let my sharks swim in a pool together. They can figure out what they want to do. So the big idea, I'm still going to, clientology is bigger than ever in my mind. But I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do with these clients? Because I can't work. I've been really told, don't work. I didn't do it the first time, but it usually only takes me one lesson. I never get to 3. Sometimes I get to 2, but I got it after 1. So I'm working 3 hours a week, 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 12 o'clock. The rest of the time, I just got back from my PT. I drove over there. Girl's leaving, brought her a cooler, got a picture with me, and drove back. I got a lot of thinking time. So,
excellent
question. It's hard for me to narrow it down, but that's my one win.
Well, and the rest of today is going to be a big win for Pete. So I'll share that in a second. Now, Cherie, welcome. We haven't seen you in a while. How is this homeschooling?
Great. We had a good start to our school year and have structure again, which is nice. So.
Excellent. You're in the dark and you're whispering. Is it safe to say there's a sleeping baby nearby?
There's not a sleeping baby. It might just be my microphone. I'll have to go find headphones. It's not that dark. It's something with my computer. I need to get a better light in here. The light is just too far away, I think, is the problem.
It seems very
circle light.
Yeah, the one I have is not bright enough, and I need to get a new one and just haven't done it yet.
All right. So what is your big win in business?
Ooh, I connected with a very good strategic partner this week, and I believe her and we are trying to schedule probably like a Instagram live together or a masterclass together of some kind, which I'm really excited about. So.
Okay, perfect. This might be a little unusual, but I'm going to share a massive win. Cherie, I just made a joke about the lighting because I really want to see the look on your face when I share this. Um, so my massive win, this is going to sound a little weird, but bear with me. My 13-year-old son was homesick with me yesterday. So my massive win was I got to spend the day with him. But more importantly, he and I had lunch and we were discussing college and how we were going to pay for it. And I had this aha moment that I had a bunch of old advice in my brain. And we were talking about getting a job and starting to save, and I was going to teach him responsibility. Shailene, you're going to love this one, I hope. Cherie, I know you're going to love it. I decided I'm going to teach my kids how to create information courses and products that they can put on a Simplero website and sell. And the products are going to pay for their university. So this is where the win comes for Cherie. Cherie helps people set up Simplero, which is my absolute favorite platform. Cherie, I've resisted this because I always felt that the world is too crowded. But what I realize is that I say that because I'm in there elbowing, and I went to a conference on course creation and I was bored out of my mind. I was like, where's the new stuff? Where's the new stuff? So anyways, this is the big win for me. And I want all of you to think about this. Pete and I were having a conversation, and the reality is, if you have a $50 a month information course, whatever it is, and you all have the content in your books already, I promise, you could turn your book. And so today we're going to walk through the steps of how to turn your book into a course that becomes a either low entry, low fee, basic revenue stream. I'm going to call it the freedom revenue, or you can turn it into the mastermind that makes you the big intergenerational wealth revenue. But the secret is, and Cherie has been very patient with me. She has written a book on how to use Simplero. Cherie, this might sound a little overly simplistic. We are going to turn that book into a course so that people can do Simplero themselves. And I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm thinking you get them to pay you to learn how to do the stuff themselves, and then they pay you a whole bunch of money to tell them what they did wrong.
I love it. That is genius.
So
It is genius.
that was my aha. And then the last piece, I'm sharing this here for a reason. The aha moment was, any business can grow. So there's a freedom number, and I want you guys to all think about what this number is for you. But there's a number where once you make more than that, you don't have to worry about survival. Then you start to think about being the dolphin and having that difference and impact. And the sad part is the number is usually really low, but most people are trying for the big numbers. They never reach that boredom of the freedom number. So what we're going to talk about today is taking your book and turning it into a lead generation tool for you while making enough money to pay the bills so that you've got time to focus on building the business. So I'm going to use examples. I'm going to walk you guys through this. But the aha moment I had, and this is really, really simple math, so bear with me. I think it made sense when I shared it with Pete. We all have a strategic partnership plan, and we're going to build out these networks. This is based, by the way, on Chet Holmes's Dream 100. I am going heavy and hard in that direction because I think it makes sense. But basically, we all have our network of 12 category 1 strategic partners, 12 category 2, 12 category 3. Is that new to anybody, or do we all agree that key strategic partner plan, 36 key strategic partners? And by the way, Shailene, your book is looking good. I pared it down to 100 pages, but anyways, we'll get there. So if we each build a network of 36, um, I'm assuming we're all in the financial space. We are also, and this is where Pete's going to be focusing his time and energy. We're going to build 9 core relationships, and we're going to be the triangle in the center. So we're going to build 9 core relationships, and we're going to teach these 9 people how to build their key strategic partner plans. And the math on that is really, really simple. If you have 9 friends, and I mean, these are people you care about, you check in on them. You know, if they're away, you go get their mail. If their mom's sick, you go take her flowers. These are the relationships that matter the most, because these 9 relationships, if each one of those has 36 fans, you have a network of 324 people to grow your businesses. And this is going to be a loyal network. And Shailene, this will apply to divorce self-defense, as well as other things. But the idea is we want to build that network. We talked about the gold in the backyard. This is the backyard, and this is where the gold is buried. So Cherie, you missed it last week, but one of the pet peeves I have is that people go far and wide. They'll pay Facebook, they'll pay LinkedIn, but they forget the fact that if we have neighbors, we have potential for business. And the example I used, there's a business center in California. The client was saying, I don't know where to find strategic partners. This is really, really funny, but they're in the medical space, and the complex they're in is medical professionals. And I'm like, do you know any of your neighbors? No, I've been busy driving around town doing networking. So that's where we're going to focus. And by the way, Cherie, I think you need to have a course on how you juggle parenthood and homeschooling, to help those uncertain moms and dads say, yeah, I got this. But also for yours and my benefit, I think we're going to create a course on how people can create courses and set them up on Simplero, and you're going to get paid to be the support person. And by the way, Cherie, you're never, ever, ever going to do one-on-one support. In the model that I'm going to present to you, once a week, you're going to have an open office, and people with questions pop in and ask their questions. So it's highly scalable. Now, coming back to Pete for a minute.
Yeah, I'm just currently smiling for Cherie, because that's music to anybody's ear.
Well, this should not come as a surprise, but I love helping wonderful people. You know, you guys are all a testament to that. Shailene and I have had a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of impact in her community. Cherie and I go way, way back, and you know, I've always wanted to find a project where I could help her. Honestly, the mistake I was making, and this is funny, I've been building my little empire trying to make it huge. I don't want huge. All I care about in life is time with my kids. And if I build a massive empire, that probably means time away from kids. So the reality is if I can do this with a 13-year-old, I can do it with anybody. But there's a little secret of all the people I want to help on the planet. There's nobody I care more about than my boys and my wife. So I'm going to take this and create a business. And Cherie, just to give you a heads up, we'll do it all within Simplero. But literally, I want to create intergenerational wealth by giving my kids the business that'll pay for their school. And Shailene, you and I will discuss this with your girls, because why wouldn't we? And you know, it's a little debate in my house, because my wife thinks that, you know, working minimum wage at McDonald's builds character. I don't want any more character, and I don't want my kids, you know, the character I got working at McDonald's, I've got burns in places you wouldn't imagine you get burns in. I've got scars from that, and I don't want my kids to do it. But here's a little bit of membership math, and the key here is this is recurring revenue that we're going to build. So the recurring revenue is based on this network. So here's a really boring number. If we take those 324 people and we assume, because it's referrals, we assume that 80% of them will become a client in a membership program. That means we're going to end up with 259 potential clients. And Pete's magic number is $47. So Pete wants to create a $47 a month, program around reputation. Now, here's the secret, and I want you all to realize this is not an exciting number. With very, very little effort, Pete and I, we've agreed he's going to spend an hour a week on this. He can generate a product, a cash generating business for him that yields a whopping $12,000 a month every month, whether he does anything or not. So first and foremost, I want you guys' opinion, and gals. By the way, I need a gender neutral word. I realize I grew up on a farm and I say guys a lot. I had a coach who called everybody dude, and I'm like, that's really annoying. So you people, or you all, are top of the list. Anyways, I'd like y'all's opinion. Tell me what you think of 12,000 a month. Boring income that comes in whether you're awake or asleep, on vacation or not. So Joe?
Actually, that's in the realm that I was thinking, because as Pete knows, restaurant owners are relatively cheap.
Yeah.
But
They can afford to. Yeah. Go ahead.
But that kind of number, I mean, they blow that amount of money on cigarettes in a week.
Yeah. Totally.
But a certain, if you work the math even further, a certain percentage of them will buy into the higher up course.
Yep. We're not going to do that math right now, Joe. We're talking about
Yeah.
boring, because the higher you up go, it means more effort for Joe. But for now, we're just talking about boring every month that's in your bank account. And for the record, I have a dear client, I won't name names, but every Wednesday morning, I get a deposit in my bank account. And it's like, oh, it's Wednesday. Look at that. There it is. That
Nice
makes
getting those checks.
every week, Shailene makes me smile just by sending me money. So Shailene, thank you. I like, just like, it's not the amount, or it's just the consistency of every week. It's like, Shailene sent me a little love letter. Shailene and I are good friends, so that's why I pick on her. But Shailene, what do you think about this for your daughters in particular?
I think that the $12,000 is at my lower limit, but it's a start.
But think about your daughters going off to college. Like, what would that do for them?
I think it'd be amazing. And I've threatened my poor kids with going to work to McDonald's, and the one has begged me if she can just go to Tim Hortons because she doesn't want to smell like McDonald's. She's 12.
I can tell you don't want to smell like Tim's either, but yes.
Well, Tim Hortons for the Americans is a big coffee chain here. Can I please work at Tim Hortons? I don't want to smell like McDonald's. And so
well, tell her I just started drinking Tim Hortons coffee this week.
Oh, goody, right. Pete. Timmy's double, right? That's what you need. Timmy's double.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Michael, what are your thoughts on boring $12,000 a month?
Well, it covers, basic needs, expenses, and, a little bit more depending on where you're living. So I think I think it's a peace of mind number depending on what you're using it for. And
it's not exciting. It's not meant to be. Does it feel hard to get to?
I don't fully understand how you get there. I mean, I know the math. I understand how you
focus on the math for now. We'll talk about the how in a second.
Yeah, you watch how he takes me through the circle.
Because if the math isn't good, the how doesn't matter. So is the math okay so far?
Sure.
Okay, Pete, I know your thoughts. Cherie, how would this impact you? Because I know you work hard for the money you make.
I do. But this is great because it would give me more time. Like you, my goal is not to build some big empire. It's to be present and with my kids. So passive income like that is great because it's less hours that I have to work and more time present with them. So
Awesome. Okay, now I'm gonna do something with the math here, and for Joe's benefit and for everybody else, we haven't talked about going up. We haven't talked about ascension. We haven't talked about what else we could do. Right now, I am building a business, and I'm going to share all of this with you guys because this is literally my weekend with my 13-year-old. We're building a business from him. He's going to launch it Monday. So
Wow.
I will be doing a course on that. You guys can copy it. Cherie doesn't know this yet, but she's going to be offering a done for you service where she's doing this for people. But let me go back to the math here. So my number was, oops, you had 9 people who had 3 networks of 12. So we're starting at 324 people, coming back to the people again. The average, if you offer something of value, the average is, we can assume each of those people know 150 other people. So very, very conservatively, if everybody in our network knows 150 people, we at the center are the center of a network of about 48,600 people, give or take. Is anybody lost on that math?
I'm not really good at math, but I understand that formula.
So the reality is I would like to teach each of you how to build a network. And by the way, there are people like Shailene that have 2,000 clients. Her network is much bigger than this. I'm just talking about, I'm literally teaching my 13-year-old son how to build a network where he is the center of 48,600 connections. Okay, anybody off on my math? Does the math make sense? So with I little membership group at $50, I'm going to round it up, Pete. I can assume, I'm really, 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 really conservative. I can assume that 1% of that network joins me. Does that sound like a conservative number or a?
Well, I tell you what, if my wife was answering that, she'd say, yeah, that's conservative enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to assume 99% don't care what we're doing. But we're going to assume conservatively that we get 486, which is 1%, willing to pay us $50 a month. And I'm going to talk to you how to do this. So I just want to make sure my math is right. So basically you're creating a 1 hour a week time commitment for you, and you're going to generate 24,300 deposited in your bank while you sleep money. So now I'd like your opinion on this, and then I will teach how. So Joe, what are your thoughts on 24,300 a month?
I think it's great.
Is it
How do we do it?
achievable? Is it achievable in your mind?
Yes.
Okay. Shailene, how about you? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Michael, how about you? Is it achievable?
In the words of Gomer Pyle, golly, sure.
Excellent. All right. Pete, I know your thoughts on this.
Well, let me give it to you anyway. I know Joe's business because I spent my life 13 years in there. That was like being in hell, but I'm out of hell. But here, I would put in front of Joe's number, a 1 in front of the 2. He could vary 124,300.
Yep. And by the way, free lesson for you, Joe. Imagine if you put your restaurants at the center of each of this network, and once a month people paid $50 to come and have a networking lunch.
Please, Jeff, don't go too far, because this is my crash time from 12 to 5. I'm like putty, and you're keeping me awake past my crash time. Thank
I
you.
warned you, Pete. I was going to break your brain today. Cherie, what are your thoughts on this number? Like, does this, okay. And Cherie has a secret, and I'm going to throw it out there. She knows that you can automate all of this with Simplero. What would you think most of the Simplero people would say and do if they could consistently make 24,300 a month?
Oh, that'd be amazing if they, yeah, that would be, I think, a lot for some of them. I don't think they realize how possible it is to automate and still bring in that kind of money, at
Yeah.
least from what I see. So,
And everybody talks about what's that? The money that just comes in, royalty money. I think they call it mailbox money. Full disclosure, this is hands-on. You have to put in, as I said, 4 hours a month. So this is what I'd like to teach you guys. And the reason I did the math first is I'm not here to convince you that you need to do this. I want you to decide, do you want to do this? Because going forward, this is going to be the focus of our Friday sessions, is how do we implement this? And there's a big spoiler alert. This is all based on the key strategic partner plan. So if you're not convinced that the key strategic partner plan works, you might as well say, thanks, Jeff, I'm done. Because going forward, I am going to treat you guys like my best clients, and we are going to do nothing but implement the key strategic partner plan. And I want to share something with you, because one of the things people say is, well, why would people pay me $50 a month? So here's the secret. And really, truly, it doesn't need to go any more complicated than this. This is a business model each and every one of you can implement today. The reason they would pay $50 a month is for you to share your knowledge about something they're interested in. So I'm going to go down as I see each of you. Joe, you could create a membership. And the reason I'm giving you this is if you don't know what the thing is, it's all theoretical. So Joe, you could do a membership, and it could be a video of the week. It could be a newsletter of the month. And just as an example, I'm part of a newsletter from Dan Kennedy. I pay $97 a month to have his physical newsletter delivered to my door. So in that newsletter, and this is where you guys will focus. So you can either create a video that you hide behind a portal on Simplero, for example, or you could send out a physical newsletter. Now, full disclosure, if you do a physical newsletter, your effort's going to go up a little. But the reality is, and this is where I want to talk about the gold in your backyard, if you are the center of your strategic network, you are this triangle here. So picture my 13-year-old son's face right in the center. I'm going to find 9 experts in my community that he will bring together. Now, for those of you who are purists, you're going to say, well, Jeff, you're doing the work. Yes, but I am building the business that will take him the rest of his life. This is not an exaggeration. This is my win this week. I'm really excited. I'm going to find the 9 business experts in my community that will support my son. And I'm going to teach those 9 people how to build and run their network. You all have the tools. You can all continue to do this. Shailene, you have a question? Okay. So you all have the tools. You guys can do this. And just doing that alone, bringing people together and having a newsletter where people write content, they share stories, that is easily a $50 a month membership. And you're not doing any of the work. The people participating. So I'm going to give examples for each of you. So Joe, for example, you could have a newsletter that you send out to every restaurant on the continental USA, and you have sponsors who pay for the mailing and who provide the content, and you write an editorial once a month saying Joe's tip of the month. That right there is a $50 a month business, and again, doesn't take a lot of Joe's time because first of all, you can hire a VA to do the work. We'll talk about what that looks like in a second. Just a fun fact, I've been trying to find North American employees. I gave up yesterday when my two nieces and nephews both said, all four said, I'm not interested, Uncle Jeff. I'd rather take time off and relax. I've learned that this generation is not motivated by money. I found some lovely people in the Philippines who will pretty much do anything I need. My criteria was $1 to $5 an hour, and we had tens of thousands of people that were perfectly qualified. So what I would say is, if you're doing a newsletter, you can hire somebody in the Philippines, and at $1 an hour, even if they're a moron, you're going to get a pretty decent newsletter every month. So that's my, yep.
Jeff, my experience with that is, you have to feed them all the content because they don't know the business.
Well, that's the thing. You get them to be the project manager to collect the content, create the newsletter, and then your job is just to write your piece of content every month.
Okay.
But here's the secret. I know businesses, retail, wholesale. My 13-year-old knows the difference between a product-based business, a service-based business, and a knowledge-based business. He knows that knowledge-based businesses are they're the most profitable, they're the most leveraged, and the least stressful. So if my 13-year-old knows this, I want you guys to benefit from the conversations that he and I have.
Could I jump in for a second, Jeff?
Absolutely.
So I just, this thought just hit me. So I could literally become a strategic partner and be split 50-50 the state of Georgia. I mean, I have so many contacts in Georgia, it makes my head hurt. So, I mean, each state could be a gold mine, but that's after the basic stuff comes. Yeah.
And again, Joe, from this perspective, your newsletter could be teaching local restaurants how to build their network, how to get their 324 people that are fighting every month to have a meeting at the restaurant.
It's the most powerful concept I've ever heard in my whole life.
So
I have a bunch of books behind me to kind of validate that I am definitely a learner.
I love it. Now, here's the secret. You, as whether it's a newsletter, whether it's a course, I'll let you guys pick because it's not significantly different. But the secret, Joe, is you want to be the guy or gal in the center who brings everybody else together. So instead of necessarily you being always the guy creating the content, Joe, you could be the guy who assembles the content. So you're giving your strategic partners, in this case, your distributors, each one of them gets a section where they can give their tip of the month or whatever. And the other value that you can add for everybody is, oh, I'll list you in the back as a resource if people need to go and get help. So Joe, you could do a newsletter to restaurant owners. And by the way, if anybody doubts this business model, I've been stalking a guy who has 300,000 dentists who pay him $100 a month. That's not a bad revenue stream.
It's pretty strong.
And all he does one surgery a month. He literally goes through the case patient. People submit cases to him. He picks the weirdest, the most unusual, the oddest, the biggest impact cases. And he has his operatory thing set up as a studio. He records the operation. And then after the operation, he splices it up and he shows the things, he gives the tips, and dentists around the world pay him $100 a month. He's got 300,000 people. They're learning how to do complex surgeries on YouTube. It's a little scary when you think of that. So
It is.
But that's the thing. I mean, it beats the days. I had a friend who's a dentist, and once a year he'd go spend a week. I'm not kidding. They would buy a 10-pound bag of oranges, and they would practice operating on oranges. Now, Shailene, for you, there is a course on how to do bookkeeping, how to do accounting. You pick one. We'll make one for each of your girls. But there is a course you can teach people what's deductible, how realtors can optimize their profit. You can bring in somebody to talk about technology. You could bring in an expert on how to sell more. You can bring in an expert on how to do video. You could bring in all the experts. The beautiful thing is your content is being created by someone else. It's not costing you anything. They give it to you. Your divorce self-defense, I would say that model is a membership, but instead of your people buying it, your strategic partners buy 10 seats, 20 seats, whatever it is, and they give it to women who need it. So that's that. Michael, for you, and I'm doing this because I don't want any of you to have to think too hard about it. My advice to you would be to create a course on home maintenance. And I say this sincerely because the first time I bought a house, somebody gave me the keys and I went, what the hell? Oh, the eaves troughs are blocked. I guess should have been doing that. So here's the thing. You bring in the experts, how to keep a pool clean, how to get red wine out of white leather couch. You bring in all the experts on how to maintain a luxury home. And this is important. You interview the experts or you get them to contribute content with the idea that it's for luxury homes, but you sell this to every homeowner in Miami. And the reason you want to sell the luxury home, I don't know if you've ever heard the show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. People want to see, my wife loves a show, I think it's called Tanked. There's a guy, two brothers, they go in and they build $50,000 fish tanks in celebrity homes. Nobody watches it because they want to see a $50,000 fish tank. They watch it because they want to see, a celebrity thinking about what kind of fish do I want. But again, Tanked, by the way, if you look that show up, Michael, I bet there's something similar in Florida. There is probably somebody who does the floor to ceiling 50,000 gallon fish tanks. But that's what you do, is you have a newsletter or a video or an interview or whatever it is. And this ties into the podcast, which I'll get to in a second. But basically, you do Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, or you do Cribs, but you get the average Joe or the average Jane to pay $50 a month to see how do the rich get wine out of their white couches. But more importantly, you're getting to know all of your strategic partners really well, so that when somebody's gone in and rescued, what's his name, the tennis guy you hang out with, Andre, they've rescued Andre's white carpet. You make him a hero, and then somebody comes and says, hey, I'd like to buy a house. He's going to say, oh, you got to go talk to my friend Michael. So that's how you use a membership to build your business. And then the last piece, so Pete's going to do a reputation. And here's the thing, Pete used to, this is a common consulting complaint, common expert complaint. I think, Joe, you've made this very complaint to me. Once you get the client, then you got to convince them to do the thing. And then it's like, oh, it's easier, I'll just do it. The beautiful thing is you teach people how to do the thing. And I was telling Shailene the other day, there's an accountant in Canada. He's got a 3-hour video on how to prepare your own business taxes. I've talked to this guy, and based on his metrics, nobody makes it past the 10th minute. At 10 minutes, every single person watching the video calls him and says, this is too much work, I just want you to do it. So that's what you want to do, is teach them enough that they know how much work, because most people don't think realtors earn their fee. But I know some realtors, so I know exactly what they do, the hustle they have behind the scenes. you want to make these people appreciate the work you put in. And so when you're doing your podcasts, for example, you're interviewing people, every interview is a possible article for a newsletter, or quite frankly, it's so you can keep it behind a paywall, charge people to watch your interviews. But because you're sharing valuable content, and really truly, if you release 20, 30 minutes of content a month, that's easily a $50 program. Okay, so the last piece of the how, and so I think Cherie's internet dropped off. It is ridiculously easy, and Shailene's got an advantage because she has Keep. I think Keep was literally built by Dan Kennedy for this kind of thing. So you can have a list of people that have paid, and just every month they get an email with a video. And one thing I want to mention just between the small group here, I don't worry too much about protecting my video. If somebody shares it with a friend, I'm not going to bust them and lock them out of the system. I'm just going to say to them, you know, why don't you give your friend an access as a gift? You know, like you can get ways to share. But the very, very last piece, and this is probably the most important piece to me, Pete, I had this holy crap moment after we talked, is when you've built this boring recurring revenue, and Shailene, I think you have very similar values to me. I'm going to make my kids, or I'm going to encourage them to donate 20% of their boring revenue to a local charity. So every month, a local charity is going to benefit by receiving about $4,800. So for Pete, we're going to contribute 20% of his boring revenue to
Shepherd Center.
to Shepherd Center.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause for a breath. Any questions at all? And Michael, before you ask the specifics of how, this is what we're going to cover as we go forward. But yes, I open the agenda, the floor to questions, and I really welcome people poking holes in this, because only by doing that do we make it better.
Nobody has questions. I'll make a comment.
The basics of what you're saying, just to recap in my mind, is you're providing, obviously it's something that people are going to be interested in, that you're providing content of value and of interest.
Yep.
But you're also explaining to them, but not explaining obviously, but you're showing them, hey, this is everything that's involved. Let's say, using the example you're using of maintaining a house, and yeah, you can do it yourself. Yes, you can do it yourself. But most people, if they have the wherewithal, are going to say, I'm not doing it myself. Why would I do it myself? But I have all these experts here that specialize in every facet of the process.
Yep.
So,
and Michael, for your benefit, this one's really, really funny. I think it's hilarious. I know a plumber who makes more money from his subscription service than he does from plumbing. And I'm not kidding. He loves plumbing, so he still does it. But what he did was he created a course, a program on the 10 most common plumbing issues that you can fix at home. And I'm not kidding. One of them was showing people how to take the little thing off of their faucet, dip it in vinegar, and get rid of the corrosion or whatever the buildup is. But honestly, like, there are people out there who, electricians, they make money showing people how to check their fuse box. Like, it's all about bringing, you're genuinely adding value to the community while building your reputation and your business.
I guess the thing I'm thinking about is you're talking about this, whether it's a plumber or whoever the person in the industry is that you want to keep bringing value. So you do have to come up with new content each month, which if you are generating 20,000 or so a month, shouldn't be that hard to get motivated to do. However, I'm just saying what's I guess obvious to me. Yeah.
Like, honestly, if you answer a question in the form of how do I blank, anybody who has that question will find you. And for example, you know, when we were moving, I'm a farm kid, and I have this problem about paying people to do around the house stuff. So I'm Googling, you know, how do I patch chips in a wall? How do I fix paint? You know, if I had the time to think about it, I would have just, if somebody else, you know, was in my area, I would have just paid them to come do it. But you know, that there are so many, like, as a realtor, I'm just going to give you this little gift of gold, my friend. Homeowners don't know how to change the furnace filter. They don't know when to change the filter. I know a real estate agency, they wrote the 4 Seasons guide to maintaining your home. In spring, here's what you should do. In fall, here's what you should do. And the secret I want you to hear here, Michael, is you don't do any of the work. Your strategic partners do.
Yeah, that's the thing that really resonated with me is when I look at the big network that generates 1,000, I would think in the past, okay, that's going to take a little bit of time because I got to find whatever the number is. But the strategic partner is the key. So you're developing the relationship with your strategic partners. They're bringing in the goods. So it's not just you, it's your strategic partners that bring in the bacon. So
And I want to give you the most interesting example I've heard. There was an electrician in Beverly Hills that focuses on chandeliers. That you can't get more niche than that. They created a video series showing the help how to clean the chandeliers. Well, when something goes wrong with the chandelier, who do you think the help called? They were doing, and this is the funny part, $50,000 a month in how to clean chandeliers recurring revenue. So they'd start with, you know, basic cleaning of, you know, the dangly ones, and then they get into the, you know, how to deal with the dust and, you know, all of those things. And yeah, they made $50,000 a month to advertise to the people who called them when they needed help with, you know, the chandelier is broken. So I'd like you all to think about what could you, so the key takeaway I want you to think about, what could you teach so that people come to you ready to work with you?
It's in the book.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, you've each got a book.
It's
And
like, hello, that's good.
yeah, and you know, you can give them, you know, when they sign up for $50 a month, they get a free copy of your book.
Yeah.
You know, and use it as an incentive.
Yes.
And by the way, you could also update the call to action in the book saying, join my monthly group.
It's totally different than anything I've ever been exposed to because it's simple. I work with 9 relationships who are strategic partners. They bring in the bacon. I literally this week, I work Monday at 11 o'clock. I work Friday at 9 o'clock. I work Friday at 12. There's a lot of free time on your hand. You can think of a lot of good ideas. And I'm just pouring into people left and right like I've never done in my entire life. Literally amazing.
And I have a call at the top of the hour, so we're going to wrap up very quickly here. I'd like to hear your key takeaway and how does this apply to you? So Joe, I'm going to put you first.
Well, to be quite honest, this is exactly what I was looking for from day one.
Okay.
it's part of, you've seen the presentations that I made to the food distributor. This is part of it. Now it's the executing on it. So I'm ready.
So you can very, very simply, I mean, really, truly, Joe, I mapped out your 12-month mastermind. The reality is that's 12 months of themes for a newsletter. You can reach out to people and ask them for content, or you can write the content yourself. I mean, honestly, and
Actually, my thoughts are, you mentioned your child. I have a daughter, she's married and all that, but she does that kind of stuff for a living.
Yeah.
And I've never thought to have her put together content, be the creator and all that stuff.
there you go.
But she does that for other publications.
There you go. And by the way, you can write the first issue that you give away for free, and it's sort of, here's 8 articles from the desk of Joe. You can give that to strategic partners to say, I'd like you to write an article here. Michael, how does this apply to you?
Gives me a totally different perspective on leveraging some relationships and forming new ones. And as you're talking about this, I'm starting to get some ideas, because house maintenance and condo maintenance, that is for sure. Most people are going to say, okay, yeah, I know how to do this, but I don't know how to do this, this, and this. Oh, and I never even thought of this. However, I can add to that resources, and I'm just brainstorming right now. Resources that interest people that live the Miami lifestyle.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So whatever that is, but I realize we're living in a constantly changing environment, community. Things evolve, like real estate law. It's not the same. Different things happen. The environment, what's happening with the
You get to
environment.
aggregate and disseminate information, and whoever controls the narrative benefits from it. So I'm gonna move on to next, because I literally have 1 minute.
Go
and
for
I
it.
gotta
Yeah.
run. Shailene, how does this apply to you? What's your takeaway?
Yeah, I'll make this really quick. This is something I'd love to be able to do with my kids, for sure. I don't, you know what, I joke around with them about working at Tim Hortons and McDonald's, but that's not what I want for them. I don't want them to have the same life that probably all 5 of us have had when we were, growing up. So this would be great for them.
Okay. And side note, one of the things my son's looking at as a business is teaching other kids how to use computers. So there is a skill. And by the way, Shailene, I don't want to be genderist. There is a family, mom has 5 daughters, and they've all become multi-million-dollar YouTubers on how to do hair and makeup. And I'm like, that's what people want. They want quick fixes and instant wins. All right, I got to run, everyone. But next week, we are going to start creating, and I'm going to create a course over the weekend. I will record how I created it, and we're going to use this to build out on Clientology. So think long and hard about, what do you know that you could teach other people?
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
I'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.